Going live. You're live. Hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Oh man, we're going to have a great show tonight. And joining me is going to be Jeannie Griffin, and she will be on in a moment. We were having some issues with the phone and the things, and so we're going to have her call in because otherwise you won't be able to hear her audio. Now remember, she will be on and doing her best because of the phone situation. But hey, who am I to say? Because that's what it takes to get on and get going. And I appreciate each and every one of you and her hard work trying to get on here tonight because, it's one of those things, you're putting yourself out there, you're doing the best with the tools you got. So, I applaud her for trying, and we're going to have a real interesting show. We're going to be talking about star charts, and I got some notes that I made, and as soon as she comes on, we'll be talking about that kind of stuff. But I want to say thank you for everybody for coming. This has been, and there she is, and there we go. Look at that. She's in the chat room now. So thank you for coming. Jeannie, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. And
good. Loud and clear?
Loud and clear. A lot better than what we had before. So I want to thank everybody else for coming. Scotty Boy, Lucky Stone, Pamela Jean, Pure Love Ascension, Lori, and Grandpa Brian, Susie Q. Grandpa Brian's off going to bed early. He's going to watch the Indy 500 tomorrow. Now, this is going to be a very interesting show. So there we go. So if you can see, there she is. Taken from an earlier bit, and we can, I don't know how I can do this where we can put you on over here, but anyway, there she is. So she is here.
Hi, can I do a shout out for someone?
Absolutely.
It's Susie Q's birthday.
Oh yeah, Susie Q's having a birthday. Happy birthday.
Yes, indeed. It's her birthday.
Oh, well, Susie Q, how about that?
So wish everybody happy birthday to Susie Q.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got some birthday music here somewhere we can play. And if I can find it. You know how that goes.
This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. See ya.
Oh yeah. As soon as I find it, we will play some birthday music. And if I can do this right, I will. But anyway, I got so much stuff. And when you want to find it, you can't. So you go right to the source. That's how it goes. And let's see, how do I do this? But anyway, I got to look it up, search. Anyway. And anyway, tell us what's going on in your world.
Mine?
Yes. We got so much stuff going on.
I'm just trying to get stuff together to do this sweet little hello to the fallen goddess Sophia. Other than that, I've just got over a really bad illness, and but I'm doing pretty good right now, so I'm happy about that. Thank you for asking.
Oh, not a problem. Here's the birthday music. I think, no, that ain't good. Oh, maybe this is better. No, that ain't good. Nope, that ain't good either. I'm playing all this birthday music. That sounds like
Well,
Susie Q right here. So, and I am gonna have to share the screen. I can play this, and then
Crack a smile, even shed a tear, because it's your birthday. Pop the cork, pour the flute, make a wish, and don't forget to count the candles. Now it's
awesome.
yeah,
That's for Susie Q.
there we go. See, I knew I could get it on there.
I knew you could too.
Nina the Mystic's in the house. Teresa D'Anton's in the house.
Oh, good.
Renee Hutchelson, since you probably can't see the screen, so I'm yelling out. Gaza Cav, he says, happy birthday, Susie Q.
Yay.
And we're going to get right into this. So, what do we
Okay.
got here? I have stuff somewhere here, but we're going to be talking about the goddess Sophia. And I've learned a lot about the goddess Sophia thanks to you. Now, I knew some things about the goddess Sophia, but I don't know that much. And I have some stuff pulled up for the goddess Sophia here. Now, I know you had some stuff you wanted to share, but since you can't share that, I'm going to share what I got here and we can go through it together. How about that?
That sounds great.
Okay. And share away we will. Okay. Rediscovering Sophia, the goddess of Christianity. So I don't know. Is Sophia the goddess of Christianity? That's my question to you.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that she is because she was pre-Christian era.
Well, that's what I thought. Through
So
my research, so Christianity hijacked her. No,
I
or
guess
they got rid of, or they got rid of her. One or the other.
they really, it's a sad story because these Magians, they originated back 6,000 BCE, and in the discovery of 1945, the Nag Hammadi codices in Upper Egypt, it was able to be restored because it was so depressed and everything was destroyed by the Christians. So there's nothing comparable with the story based on the Sophia of the Mysteries. There's no other version, and the ones that were able to be found were chaotic, incomplete, inconsistent, and at best mangled variations. And all across Europe, and most of the evidence has been deliberately suppressed, placed under taboo, and if not actively demolished. So it was back it was developed in the Caucasus Mountains, and they were cousins to the Aryan, Irish, Nordic, Teutonic, Italic, Iberian races. And there's an astonishing physical similarities between the Osterian people of the Caucasus area, now in Russia, between right up above where we're fighting today, and the Irish, and in biblical terms, the Gauls, the Galatians, were the Irish.
Yeah.
So
So let me ask
Right.
you now, from my studies that I did and stuff. So anyway, from my studies, sorry, I'm trying to get something on here. Anyway, from my studies, it said that the Druids are from the Iberian, and they were the ones that went down and taught the Egyptians about the astrology and the language of the stars. Is that
Yeah,
not true?
I would believe that would be true.
Mhm.
The sacred narrative of the mysteries explains the cosmic origins of life and the human purpose on Earth. And there's no other myth in any other culture or epoch that presents a creation story. So the ones that the Druids were teaching in the mystery schools, they were connected to the Magian.
The Magi. Magi you're talking about?
Yeah, the same thing. Magian, Magi.
Yeah.
And of course, the Magi was seen according to the biblical term. In biblical terms, the Magi was there supposedly at the birth of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And was that in Bethlehem, I think?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Supposedly, yeah.
So the home story was set apart from the inhabitants of that area, the where Canaan is, you know, where the modern Palestinians are. That's where Judaism, Islam, and the Christians. That's where that all began, and there was no other real home story during that time, and it was being destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And in northwestern Iran, you know, how is it that the Austinian people of the Caucasus Mountains and the Irish, they were the ones that brought this to the world throughout. And of course, they have the same type of stories in other areas, like the Aboriginals and the Aztecs and the Americas, you know, Canada, but the old, you know, the area in the United States.
Yeah,
These people all had a creation story, and it all goes back to Sophia. So they all had a type of maternal, you know, the regional epics such as the Kalevala of Finland and the rich trove of the Greco-Roman mythology, the German folklore, the Irish, Welsh, and Basque legends, they all vanished. All of these, all these creation stories of the goddess Sophia, which I don't have I cannot find my other background on the names of all her other names around the world, but the one that's important is Astera, and that was the Nordic myth. But now Astera is the only single word that is left from the version I couldn't say it,
Mhm.
in that area, in that vicinity. And it was borrowed from the Germans. It was the Germanic word. And that was also demolished without a clue to her origins, really, and to the continued existence. So the background of many generations of the Magian order, a community of visionary teachers, the pre-Christian forerunners of the Gnostics, called themselves Telestai, and it means those who are aimed. And so what aimed them was their intimate access to the intelligence of the living earth, the telluric matrix, the sacred narrative of Sophia was it was revised and it was preserved, and it was sacred, you know. So they had a lot of I would say ritual maybe, but they told a lot of stories, and they would tell them through generations. They would always have a shaman, and then the next generation and the next generation after that, they would tell these stories pretty much just by speaking, and they really didn't write too much down. And in Iran, the wisdom goddess in ancient Persia, her name, this is the oldest, this goes back to the oldest, is Spandarmat was her name. And it means expansive, vibrating mother, the measured web of life. And this was known to the Magians, one of the earliest names of Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
And so now some versions or another of that figure occur in all indigenous animistic societies. The Magian Gnostics detected this divine maternal figure in a living presence to be encountered and engaged. And these Telestai were the ones that blazed the trail into profound and intimate engagement with the intelligence of nature. And they conversed directly with the planet. It's, they're highly intellectual shamans. They're highly accomplished in their visionary practice and paranormal faculties.
Mm-hmm.
They have literacy, mathematics, astronomy, the natural sciences, art forms in all ways, including but not inclusive to music and dance, and the method of trance.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So Scotty Boy, and I think this is an important one. He said something about the names. You remember, we're going to get down to basics here, and we call her Sophia, right? And we're basically talking about the earth entity. Earth is a living being, and it gives us life. That is it. But he says something about the names. Is names important? And I want to kind of address this and see what you think. A name is important. Names mean a lot of things. So you could say literally a whole sentence or a meaning by saying a name. Like, especially, and I know you are part Crow Indian, and that, and Indians did that a lot too. So their name would be, I can't even pronounce one, but it would mean, like walks on water, or, little bear or something, but it would be Haya Hoa, whatever, and I'm just exaggerating.
My name, you want to know what my name is?
Yes. Tell me what your name is.
Swims with mana ray.
Swims with manta ray. Okay, so now
That's
that would
my
take
name.
that would take too long to say, so they shorten it up into a name, and that name means a lot. So here's another thing, and for Scotty boy, this is the one of these things I've realized. So now if I'm here, say, we'll just say in the United States, and my name is Robert, and I go to Mexico, and they speak a different language. They will say habla español Robert, and if I go to Japan or China, even though they speak a totally different language, they will probably pronounce my name Robert. Even though they told me to sit down and shut up, they will say Robert, blah, 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 whatever, they got to say, right? And I'm exaggerating because I don't know how to speak Mandarin. But the point is, they will always address you. And I can tell you that by the news. We'll just use the news, for instance. So like, say, President Biden or President Trump is in the news in a foreign country, they're still going to call him Biden or Trump or whatever his name is. That part won't change. They won't say, well, let's translate that name into a different phrase and call him that. So I think that is an important thing. Yeah. I think it's a very important thing. The name is your frequency. And if you don't, I know, we've had people on before, and I remember, who was it that I had on? Was it so it's on the tip of my tongue, and I had her on, and she had changed her name because she just didn't resonate with that name, and so she changed it, which made her even feel better, because remember, a name is a frequency, and frequencies are suboral frequency. And that's not me saying it, that's scientists saying that. I did my research. Okay, so back to Earth. But back to Earth. Now Sophia was part of the gods, and she became Earth to give us life. Is that not true? Kind of how the myth goes?
In a nutshell, yes. But the aeons back in the ancient days, the Teleste, they referred to those the gods and goddesses in the fourth word in Genesis is Elohim, which means gods and goddesses. Okay. And if you look up in the Hebrew text, in the interlinear, it means gods and goddesses. And the gods and goddesses reside up in the plumera of these galaxies. And while they were frolicking up there, I guess to say, Sophia, which means in Greek wisdom, and Selete, her consort, which means intention in Greek, they had this in essence, they had the occasion from the originator to go ahead and plan a it's hard to explain because it's easier to explain it when I'm like in that mode of the exact wording, but they consorted, and they developed this Anthropos, the Anthropos 10. And so let me go back a little bit, because it's kind of hard to explain, because in the mythological language, the goddess, fallen goddess scenario describes the core of the home galaxy as a vortex of the infinite potential. So the pleroma means fullness, and it consists of massive serpent-like entities and torrents, and these are the gods and goddesses, and that would be Sophia and Thelete. And they are gendered, male and female, to describe different types of their dynamic activity. And like positive and negative charges of this electric current, the active and repulsive poles of a magnet type. And the aeons are divine. They're luminous, radiant, emanating light. And they also alive, they're intelligent, they're capable of feeling, perception, desire, and they have a level of cosmic consciousness. So these two, some people would call them reprobates, but I don't. These two serpentine, but not reptilian. They're not reptilian, okay? These aeons, they envisioned this living luminosity capable of sentient response, gesture, and speech. And they had this outpouring of energy. And in the FGS, it describes the central event of this Gnostic myth and how one of the massive luminous serpentine currents whirling in the galactic core bursts beyond the boundaries of the core.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the beginning of the structure of our galaxy. It conforms to the standard model and the regular lenticular spiral of this egg-shaped rotating core surrounding by the limbs and the spiral arms. Well, see, what happened was in her dreaming, see, this whole scenario is that she had this so much desire to create the Anthropos and have a wonderful life for the for her creation, and her creation is this genome. And so what happened was she kind of like fell asleep and she dreamt, and in her dreaming she fell out of the core of the galaxy, and she went into, like I said, she went into this spiraling downfall, so to speak, and she fell into the side of the spiraling arms, what is called the kenoma, Kenoma. I'm sorry, I'm kind of like nervous a little bit. So a kenoma means deficiency or incompletion. So when she fell out, and she fell out alone, she was not with her consort at this point. And this kenoma, the difference is it's like a fountainhead, and it erupted, and when she fell into it, she smacked into it, and then with that velocity, these archons were they were like bugs. They're like bugs.
Yeah.
They turn, and so so that's how they were created. But I know it's a little bit long on how the names and everything are important. And I think the names are important because before Sophia fell into the galaxy, where she fell out of the pleroma, I got a little ahead of myself because she was anointed. The genome that she dreamt of was anointed by Aeon Christos. And that's where the connection comes in with the Christian, narrative. And it got a little bit
okay.
It was taken, but it wasn't told in its correct narrative. It wasn't told in the narrative of the telestics, of the generation after generation after generation.
Okay, so here's my question then too. Okay, so we got myths and legends, which we know that myths and legends are sometimes ways to transfer information in a non sort of intrusive way. And in mythology, you could tell a story, but there's hidden messages in there, and there's a code. It's called it's a directive mythology. It's a mythology of something bigger than itself, and you have to decode it. It's kind of like, and we've been referring to the Gnostics, and if you want to get to that, I would suggest everybody go and get the Nag Hammadi Scriptures book. It's a big, thick book. It'll give you hundreds of hours of reading, and in there lies a lot of secrets. Now, this guy, we've been doing a lot of research on, and he wrote a bunch of books, and we got a lot of information from this guy here. And this is John Lamb Lash. And I can imagine, Jeannie, you've read this book here, Not in His Image. He talks a lot.
Yes, I've read it. I've read both.
Knew about aliens, UFOs, Sophia, all of these things. Tell us a little bit about John Lamb Lash and some of the stuff that he has put out there, because he's very interesting. He's been around for a long time. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the author, John Lamb Lash, and his release in 2006 of the original Not in His Image, it presented in the world the living presence of the wisdom goddess as never before revealed, illustrating the impact of the Gnostic message for humanity. It could not and cannot be hidden or destroyed. And the author, John Lamb Lash, explains in depth how obscure Messianic sect, the Zedekim, can I say that?
Yeah.
Became an implement of the world domination by demolishing the ancient institutions of learning, the mysteries, the persecution of the Gnostics, who founded them along with the Druids, the other shamanic visionaries of Europe, North Africa, and the Near East. Not in His Image, he delves deeply into the ancient Gnostic writings to recover the knowledge that the early Christians tried to scrub from the pages of history, and he explores the rich legacy of the pre-Christian European spirituality. the great goddess, the Gnostic, the myth of Sophia and Gaia. Because see, Sophia, the goddess Sophia turned into Gaia. She didn't create the earth. She actually turned into the earth. And he kind of
there we have Sophia. I put Sophia up on the screen here. This is the earth. Earth, remember people, has been around a lot longer than the Bible. It's been around a lot longer than the Nag Hammadi scriptures. These are legends and words that have been passed down for years, and mythology. And the mythology has some truth to it. We all know that Earth is it has to be a living entity. It has all the things where it just doesn't move. And since it doesn't do things like you or I do, we sometimes tend to forget that we're the flea on the back of Sophia, but she's there providing for us. Am I wrong? Tell me about that.
Well, she would never refer to us as a flea, because we are her creation. We are her design. She loves us. And the only thing we can really give back to her is to know and to love ourselves, to know what self-love is. And that's the one thing that's so beautiful about this myth, is that coming into Sophia's immediate presence, learning the spectacular star myth about her, you will realize that this particular cosmic divinity is all about ethics.
Yes.
It's all about aesthetics, ethics. The most beautiful story on earth is the story about the earth. The one paramount factor that brings you home to the home story and compels you to get involved and do one's part to determine its outcome. And that one factor is beauty. And I always love it after I listen to John Lamb Lash, because he'll always say, see you in the beauty to come. And I always love that. I just think that's beautiful.
Absolutely. Okay, I got another thing for you. Let's talk about this for a second. We have Sophia, and Sophia knows she's created us. We're her design. We're living on her back. We're doing our things, but there's parasites out there. There's the archons. There's other things. She wants to help us out, and by helping us out, she's created things for us. Now, according to John Lamb Lash, he talks something about things like mind parasites, and we talk about evil. Well, are you really evil, or are you just you're bathing in the evil influence of these parasites? And you got to wonder about that. But here's the thing. It's all in perception. It's Sophia created plants. Now this is something I learned today. Sophia has created plants. And as you all know, plants are everywhere, but certain plants are there for us to explore. And these plants that Sophia's gave us, they are plants that produce nitrogen, believe it or not, extra nitrogen that goes into us. And it's a psychological consciousness, and it alters our perception of things. And in this cognitive ecstasy that we can be in is the only time that we can download information or find out the real truths that are out there in the ether. And this is called, I'm probably going to get this wrong, telistic transference, and it can be only done in a state of mind using an inhibitor, so that you can talk to the other side. Your mind can't be in this state, because this state is for the physical world. And once you have this mind transference thing go on, then you can talk and get that information from the other side. And that's what I've learned today. The Gnostics talk about it, and it's a psychological and consciousness of perception. And what our physical mind here is perceiving most of the time isn't what really is being perceived, and it's telling us the wrong. Like, we know that the media tries to manipulate us and things like that. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, that's a mouthful. Well, John refers it to the archonic virus, okay? Because, and it goes a little deep. The whole myth goes pretty deep, and it's deeper than really what we can hit on in an hour for everything that we're discussing here tonight. Now, these archons were developed when she smacked into the side of the arm of the galaxy, right? And so she had to deal with them. She gave them a little bit of insight about the world and and about the galaxy. And what they did was they pretty much made up the planets around us. And so she got them busy doing that while she went into her own spin, and had the sun was developed, the moon, and then the earth. And they call it the moon. They say that it's like a pearl of an oyster. They refer it to it like that. Now, these archons, they are a non-organic, and everything, we're organic. The earth is organic. The sun's organic. I don't know too much about the moon. There's a lot to be said about it. But these what they've done is they've inserted themselves into the Anthropos, and they've done so through the Zadokine, into a sect that and it's, the theory is that when you hear the story about when Moses was going through the desert for 40 years and how they ate the manna. Yep. Well, these little parasites are like the little, what are those little green bugs that they're mealy bugs and they get on roses and stuff? What are they called? I forgot. Aphids. They're like an aphid, and they are milky. And what their theory is that during that period, that's when they got into the people's system. It's like a virus. It's exactly what they're doing with these injections today. It's exactly the same. It goes in and they change your DNA. And this is exactly what this archonic infection, they call it. The Teleste warned us about these archonic infections, and that's how they referred it. And it's a mental deficit, and it's gone to the point now where this transhumanism and all this, if you get the book and read it, he goes into a lot of depth, and it's very kind of hard for me to explain it all in 5 minutes. How this all came down, but did I answer the question, or do I?
Yeah, no, you did. You did good. You did good. You did good. Like I said, I got a bunch of notes, and we were talking about all these things, and I thought this is some good stuff to pull up. You know, the thing is that John Lamb Lash likes to. He said he knows how to read code in the constellations. He
Yeah.
the directive of mythology, and in the constellations, as we're going to show you here, here's the constellations, everybody. I'm going to put this up on screen for y'all so we can see what he is seeing. And so here's your star chart, and you have all these constellations, and most people will know. You could probably figure some of these out. Look at here's Ophiuchus, you know, here is Sagittarius, there's Capricorn, Aquarius, you know, these are some of the ones. There's some of them out here that people haven't even heard of. Orion, Taurus, Gemini, Leo Minor, and we can go on. And then there's the Centaurus, Veda, and if I knew how to do it outside in the starlight, I probably could. Here's Pegasus. That's probably, it just sounds cool, Pegasus, doesn't it? Anyway, but the idea is that by figuring out how to read these star charts, he can find out that there's a code hidden in these Nagamati scriptures, in the myths and legends and stuff like that. And then that it corresponds with a code into the stars, which can help you and tell us the future or the history of our, you know what I'm saying? So can you describe some of that, or tell us some about the star charts?
Well, actually, I'm just beginning to learn a little bit more about this. It's not the current, it's not the modern tropical astrology. The way he has gone back in the ages, there's a book that I cannot remember now the name of what it's called, but it goes back and it traces everything back for centuries. And he's gone through this, and he watches the constellations by his eye. I guess he uses a telescope too, but he can just go by his eye. And he has been following the constellations, and in the northern and the southern hemispheres, and he's charting the correction. Now, the transference, I think, that's what you were trying to talk about before. Now, this is more information than I really understand myself. I'm just starting and beginning to learn about the Gaian navigation experiment. And it's an experiment that he's been involved in since 2011, March of 2011. He's been doing this, and I don't really have. I don't know if I can go in there right now without making a payment of some kind. I've just been going in his site without paying as a visitor. And a lot of that information is, I guess, pretty private, because how some people will destroy that information too, or destroy him. But he's proving that his theory is that eventually the earth will correct itself and it will move away from the archonic oppression of this solar system, that it'll go into a different solar system altogether. And
Wow.
so there won't be any more archons in this world. That's his, I can't explain his theory because I'm just learning the theory.
Yeah.
But
but
in essence, that's what it's about.
Does this have something to do with the changing of the age, that we're leaving what are we leaving? And then we're going into the Ophiuchus Aquarian age, you know?
Yeah.
It is, you know, because we're going in the one age to the other, and that's a difference of a couple 100 years, is it not?
Correct. He thinks it's probably right around 192 to 194 more years that we have before we're actually in the age of Aquarius. Now, it's been said, I cannot read myself the stars. I'm learning. Now, it's said that the rotation, now we have the Pleiades has just left Taurus, and they're now in Gemini, and they'll be in Gemini for, I'm not sure if it's months or years, but it's quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pleiades will not be back in Taurus for another couple 100 years. So perhaps, you know, I don't think they'll be back before the Earth comes out of this age. I think they'll be back in the age of Aquarius. I don't know. That's just my educated guess at this point, which I'm just learning. Like I said, I don't know.
Well, your learning is better than my I don't know anything about it. Put it that way.
Well, you know, I've been interested in this. I first picked up the Not in His Image back in about 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get into it. I got into it and then I wasn't into it, and because I was busy working, you know.
Yeah.
And so, excuse me, I need a drink of water and I don't have one with me. But when I was listening to Wayne's channel quite a few number of years ago now, it was brought up that we came from the pleroma and that we are archons and we're fractals and we're this and we're that. Well, I picked up this book again, you know, to get more into it. And so I have been learning very deep I've been learning planetary tantra. Now, the girls, the A7s, they're very deep into planetary tantra. They do their dreaming, and that's what planetary tantra is. It has, you know, people think, oh, it's sexual, it's this. No, it's about dreaming and about manifesting in those dreams, manifesting. And the funny thing is because Sophia is in her dream, you really want to, you ask the question, well, who's the dreamer?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
That's my question. You know, when Teresa and Lori, they're talking about, you know, hooking up and taking a plane ride somewhere, but who's actually dreaming? They're dreaming, or they're dreaming in her dream? That's my question.
it is. Well, you know, that's your manifestation of what is going on. I mean, we're always, our reality is created from our mind. And that's why everybody has such a different perspective on things. And that's why we all have a different way of doing things. Or, your manifestation of your reality is different than my manifestation of your reality. And only you can manifest your reality. Even though I may influence your reality, you're the only one in control of that. And a lot of people forget that and let other people, and this is kind of like what they're talking about, the archons. The archons are the influencers that shift your reality. And we have to forget that the archons,
because they're like you said, they're influencers, they're propagandists. They they get into every little nook and cranny where you don't want them to be. I mean, they're in our politics, they're in our education, they're in every kind of curriculum, they're in the banking, they're in the religious, they're in YMCA, for goodness sakes, they're everywhere.
Yes.
They're everywhere. They're in your library now.
Yeah.
They're in the kids section in the library. These are the ones that they have some kind of, can I just say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
They have some kind of sickness, some kind of virus, because it's do not harm. It's do not harm.
Yes. Well,
natural law.
Here's the thing. Naturally, most people, would you not say, are good people, and good people are usually good, but then somehow something changes them and they become bad people. Why is that?
I think that is part and parcel to the it's the number one, it's the government. Okay, it's gotten into everything. And now remember, we have MK Ultra, we have all of that. Now that is part and parcel, to this propaganda, to the Tavistock Institute, the Tavistock Act, I think it was 1948. That it's legal to do this to people. It's legal. It's legal for them to go into our skies and do this geoengineering. Now, don't tell me that's not archonic. And archonic means, in Greek, archon means ruler.
Yes.
So these are the people that have taken over. They're a very small percentage, and Aryan, and I don't mean the kind of Aryan that is the supremacist, because this story has nothing to do with somebody having superiority over another. This story, okay?
Yeah. Okay. So and you brought up a good point with these people. It's a small minority, and the thing is I think Amber, who's in the house here, she says something about,
hi Amber.
We let people are waking up, she says, and I think there are people waking up. I think that we most of us here, if you're watching the show, you're on the awake side. You are one of some of the few, and I appreciate each and every one of you that is here, because you are awake people. And there's so many, and I know all of you probably know somebody that just has no clue. Either they're not awake, they don't want to be awake, or they just don't care. And you wonder about their life path. How is this affecting them, and why is it affecting it? How does it affect you? And do the archons prey on those type of people? I think they do, through other people that they've manipulated, because really the archons, these are not physical beings in the sense of like we are. They're influencers.
No.
And they don't come down,
Yeah.
and they're not going to come down and strike you or stab you or kill you or poison you, or but they'll, oh, that's a good thing. I think that they're that little voice in your head that you think that's yours. I mean, I guess in some way that would be considered one of the first, or the first devils, or Satan would have been. I mean, or you could refer it to that, I guess, would be kind of the thing, don't you think?
Yeah.
What
But
say?
now, but what I'm thinking, what is the bottom line here? This was like, if you go into the Gospel of Philip in the Nag Hammadi, it has a quote there, and I'm not one to do these quotes like this, but there's her plunge was so tough that the world as we know it came about due to a mistake. But the mistake is an anomaly rather than an out and out error. But these archons, what we have to try to look at in this perspective, if we could look at it instead of looking at it like evil, like, okay, for instance, like if we have a brother, let's say, who's very kind of an evil kind of a guy, right?
Yes.
Well, we have to look at him as an error. He has error in his way.
But how can we fix
that?
And
well, typically, when they're highly narcissistic, or the archonic infestation has gotten so deep, it's hard to turn back. It's hard to turn around. It's hard to turn it around. So, and at this point, at where we are, because we're at the beginning of the end, there's not going to be another time for them. And, people say, oh, I don't ever want to come back here to this earth. I don't want to come back here. Well, it's said that this is the best place in the universe, is Earth.
Yes.
So that's why, and in order for the correction to be on it, to be completed, that's why we're here. We chose to be here for this particular time and event. And we have to get the message out that, because she's enmeshed in her own experience, with herself, trying to get things going, to get back in her own projection, and we're here. We've chosen to come here and help her do that. And so through her own compulsion, if, as it were, we're here to be interactive with her and as us subjects and conditions of the experiment. So there's a dilemma faced by the goddess, and it's the crucial plot factor of this scenario, and the factor is, are we going to be able to get the beauty back on this earth, or are we just going to really destroy it?
Well, that's a very good question. Okay, so we got some comments here, and I'd like to read them because some of them are really smart, because we have one of the best audiences out there. Lucky Stone says there's nothing wrong with not being awake. And I guess we're prone to judge people who are not awake. It's kind of sad. Sorry about that.
Well, all I could do is giggle for that.
Yeah, being awake, he says, is a perception issue. And I guess that is. We just perceived it differently. Everyone is on their own path. We teach and learn from everyone, and we are listening with compassion. And that's true. Now, remember, I think you wrote me a letter saying something about be the frequency you want to receive is a great message. And what is that highest? What is the high? You told me, what is the highest, the frequencies that I could be receiving?
Truth is the highest frequency with a capital T.
Well, I thought you were talking about the love frequency. The truth, the love truth, or truth?
Well, in natural law, the highest frequency is truth.
Truth. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So finding.
I'm not in the new age. I'm not a new ager. I'm not a new ager.
New ager. Okay. So truth.
Okay.
Is the highest frequency.
But now but if you're into planetary tantra, and if you're into the which a lot of people are, and if you're into the karmic and all that other stuff, which I can't remember now where I was going to go with that, but but if the what is it, Michael? The Shakti cluster, the highest form of of Shakti cluster is generosity.
Yes, being generous.
Not love. It's generosity.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. I like it.
That's the Shakti cluster. Yeah.
Okay.
But this story is not about love. I mean, there is love and guidance and what I really love about this story is finding the organic light, because that is love. Mm-hmm. That when you hit the organic light, it overwhelms you with generosity. It overwhelms you with it. Yeah.
Okay, so Lucky Stone says, Julius Caesar, here's a quote: men at some time were masters of their fate. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we are underlings. You don't fix anything. You only fix yourself. That is very smart. I like that. Remember, people, you only can fix yourself. And that's kind of the truth there. Anyway, let's see. Christy Schaefer is here. I haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for coming. Let's see. Build the planet for all or black void. Yes, I get it. So, okay, go ahead.
The story here is not so much about the stars or about, I'm not quite sure what that was about, but when we recognize that the fallen goddess scenario, it's telling a story of our planet, okay, exclusively. And it engages humanity in the urgency and an intimate way with the earth goddess. And it presents a block for some people. And the interest in this particular galaxy, the planet Earth, and the conditions of human existence, and in the unique habit of where we are, it may act as a deterrent or self-selection factor. So some people don't care for a scenario like this, you know?
Yeah.
And preferring to go beyond it towards a different path. And I would argue that the larger picture will come into view when our perspective here on Earth is clear. It's not clear, including our view of the origin, including our view of the origin of the Earth and the role of the human species in a terrestrial design. See, because there's been so much taboo put on this story over the centuries.
Oh, absolutely. I got a good one from Scotty Boy, and I think that his words are pretty profound. And
I love Scotty. What does he say?
He says, truth lies in simplicity. And isn't that something like Schrodinger's cat, you know, or something like that? You don't know, but the simplest answer is usually the right one, you know. And you know, and that is true. Why would you complicate things? And that seems to be a problem for a lot of people. They complicate stuff so much that, you know, things don't make any sense. And, you know, having common sense and simplicity, it's like saying, oh, you know, the mountains took millions and millions of years to form. And I went out west and I looked at those mountains, and big giant rocky mountains. And the more I looked at them and the more I looked at them, I realized those mountains could have never formed millions of years ago. They had to happen instantaneously. They happened really fast, because where's the debris? Where's the erosion? You know, why aren't they deteriorating? You know how I don't know if you've ever been to the Rocky Mountains, but I was there, and the rock is like granite or something. It's hard. It's these giant boulders are sitting in the streams, and I'm thinking, all that water rushing around these boulders for hundreds of years, and the boulders, they're not going anywhere. I'm thinking, what, they should be pebbles by now, shouldn't they? But no, they're not. And the mountains are still there. I'm thinking, well, where's all this erosion? We should be standing on piles of rock, because where did it all go from? And I'm realizing that these mountains were thrust up in a hurry, and probably not that long ago. As you can tell, that when a forest burns down, have you ever seen a burnt forest?
Yes, I was in a forest fire before. I've seen them.
Yeah, when I was a kid,
seen it burn.
when I was a kid, we had a forest fire go through and burnt our big woods down and everything. And you know what? In 20 years, the trees kind of grew back, and you could barely tell. And when I go home now, the trees are back to being big, and the grass, you know, everything that was burnt is gone, and you would have never known there was a forest fire there. So it
replenishes itself. It's just like below the crescent or whatever it is, the mantle, there's, you know, primary water and oil under there, you know?
Yes.
So it replenishes itself. But the only thing that I could say about this story really is its analogy to dreaming is a metaphor.
Yeah.
And it's not just that. It's the paradigm describes a dynamic process in which life on earth is sustained in the way a dream is sustained by the dreamer. And the characters in the dream exist and act as long as the dreaming continues. And in the creationist paradigm, the creations persist after the initial fiat of the creator that brings them into existence. In the codices, the dreaming, the Sophia's dreaming, is called appropriate, A-P-P-O-R-I-A. And in the terrestrial, life persists as a dream activity concurrent with its unfoldment. And the creationist paradigm, it allows for humans to have a relationship to the off-planet deity, usually realized in an act of faith, but relating to Gaia Sophia is interactive and experimental. And we know Gaia in the immediate sensuous presence called nature, but interacting with her dreaming requires a dialogue with the mind of nature, the indwelling of the intelligence, or the soul of the world, the anima mundi. So this is a very interesting myth. It's not your typical I don't even use the word anymore, so it's hard for me to find it. Patriarchic, your patriarchic, Father
Yeah.
God.
Yes, yes.
And it's all, there's there's no, she doesn't require anything from you, but only to love yourself. To have self-love, because through self-love, that's the only thing that she cannot give you. And
That is true. That is so true. How many people out there, how many people out there, don't love themselves, and they say, oh yeah, I want to love somebody, I want somebody in my life, but they can't even love themselves. This is a flaw in us. If a lot of people, I've been told, I got a buddy of mine, speaking of that, and he was like, oh, if I would just be happy, my life would be so much better if I had somebody in my life to love. And I'm like, well, if you can't love yourself, then how do you expect to love somebody else? Or are you just setting yourself up to be used and manipulated, and then you will feel joy out of that? Is that what you're looking for? I don't know, but maybe somebody in the audience can tell us this. What do you say on all this? What is it? Do you love yourself? And if you can love yourself, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, my thought is that when you're brought up in a patriarchic type household, that's the last thing you learn how to do, is love yourself. And because everything's about the 10%, the 10 Commandments, but people really that have a natural balanced left-right brain, they don't really need to be told not to lie. They don't need to be told, don't lie to your mother, don't lie to your father, be good to people, don't hit your sister, stuff like that. I mean, it's natural. I mean, you grow up and you play and you're playing, but you don't do something to actually hurt them, unless there's something really wrong with you.
Yeah.
And
I got a good one here before I leave my screen. It says, Christy Schaefer says,
oh, I like her.
she says, It's not about loving yourself. It is about breaking your habit of being codependent. Master your independence. Wow. Hit it out of the park there.
Some people are codependent, though. Others are not. So if you are codependent, and you have to make sure you're in the right relationship with yourself. So you're dependent on yourself, which you become independent. And then it's easier to have a relationship with somebody on an equal level than when you're, when you're counting on someone else, that doesn't always work out so well, does it? So,
yes. Aaron's energy. Thank you for coming. People, he says, she says, people go into relationships expecting the other person to make them happy. It's nobody else's job to make you happy. Find it within, then you can give. That's a good one. I like that. Make them, the other person, make them happy. And that's the thing. It's like, well, see, that's the thing with me. I don't need other people to make me happy. And I'm happy with myself. I love myself, and I do pretty good that way. And therefore,
I just find myself a good book.
Yes, good book. Right? I like the garden. I do my things, but a lot of times you're right.
Exactly.
I like to share. Sharing would be good. But anyway, we've had a long show. It's getting to the end. It's almost 10:30. We've been on for an hour and a half. But
oh my goodness.
But anyway, we want to sign off here, and I want to wish everybody, tell everybody, thank you so much for coming. This has been really good. You got lots of information. We'll have to have you back on. I'm going to give a shout out to everybody who's been here tonight. Pamela Jean, Scotty Boy, Amber Dawn. She had a good show on the other day where she had Alex Gangashama or whatever, and they were doing numerical numbers and and reading cards. And I had the best reading I've ever had. It like set me up real good. I feel so good about myself. Anyway, Jargo Smith is in the house. Scotty Boy, Aaron Energy 313.
Scotty Boy.
Drumstead, which is Mary Wins, who's doing another phone. Christy Schaefer, thank you for coming. And Karen Lynn, and all those people who were here earlier probably left. Nina the Mystic, and I think Lucky Stone is still here. Thank you all.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a hard time getting started, so.
Yeah, but that's all right. We may do. Grumpy Stack was here tonight. He's probably still here somewhere. Thank you, Grumpy Stack, for coming to the show tonight. We got to have Grumpy Stack on sometime. It is getting to be summertime. Christy Schaefer says, do you all know what love is? It is uplifting, providing support, and protecting. Yes, that is the biggest question. Love is like something you can't put in a cup or a jar. You can't draw a picture of it. It's one of those things you have to kind of feel in your heart or express. And each person expresses it and accepts it in different ways. And what did you say before? It isn't love, it's the frequency, it's the what did we say earlier? Oh my gosh, it left my mind now.
In the Shakti cluster, generosity is the greatest gift.
Generosity. So
yeah.
Be generous to people. That's right. Be generous. Think of others before you think of yourself. Because
if you love yourself, then that will already emanate.
Yes.
So through generosity, that's how love is shown.
That's right. A big shout out to Susie Q, who had a birthday. Happy birthday. And don't forget about Nina the Mystic. And she says, hope to see you tomorrow night for Sunday Live. We have Elle, the alchemist, on. So join Nina over there for Sin Day Live. Going to be a great show. And always on Nina's show is a great show. She's got lots of cool people over there. Lady Spellbreaker is here too. Great to have you here. Well, she was on a couple of weeks ago talking about plants and mental health. And, you know, I learned a lot about the mental health. I had to do a little studying, but May was Mental Health Month. And I encourage everybody to go out there and, you know, do a little research on that. There's too much suicide going on, too many people taking drugs for mental health. You know, and if you're on drugs for mental health, I suggest that you try to, you know, find some cures for yourself in different ways, and look into different things, you know, because there is help out there. Lots of people to help you out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and if you really need to talk to somebody, I would suggest, who knows way more about this stuff than I do, is go check out Lady Spellbreaker. She is a wealth of information for mental health, and I appreciate each and every time she's on and talks about it. So thank you, Heather, you know, for all you do. Anyway, remember, I don't see Max Vision on with a show tonight. I didn't see a posting, and neither did anybody else. So no Max Vision tonight. But remember, go over to Cindy Live tomorrow night. We'll all be watching you, Nina. It's gonna be a great show. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank
Good luck,
you,
Nina.
for coming on tonight.
Can I just say to
Yes.
Anybody that would like to have more information in a professional means, like John, he is so wonderful. I mean, I know that you've listened to John too, and he explains everything in such a fantastic, wonderful way. If you go on to nemeta.org, it's NEMETA.org, and you can go in there as a visitor, and you can sign up, and the Sophianic Myth comes in 9 episodes. He's restored it, and you can sign up for that, and he'll send you a portion of it every week for 9 weeks.
Wow.
And you can read up on it.
Well, that sounds really good. Lady Spellbreaker says, Heather says, thank you so much. She's going to be a guest on the Lifeboat channel to talk about natural ways for mental health and sobriety Monday night. So go over there. I don't have the link for that channel. Sorry. If you got it, post it in the comments there. I could put it under description later here. But go over there, check it out. Lifeboat channel. Never heard of it, but I will be searching for it myself. Thank you, Jeannie, for coming on. We're going to have you back, and maybe we'll get you.
Thank you, and I enjoyed it. And one of these days we'll get it so my phone will work right.
That's right. You got lots of information and for good presentation. But hey, you know, there's more work. It took me a long time to get things right. I remember the downfalls where my computer would crash, and half the time the show wouldn't go, and it'd make everybody mad. But you know, I figured it out. I worked on it, and now we have really no problems. I come on like I'm a professional. So with that, remember, go out and be generous to somebody, people. Generosity is the way. Find the truth. Do something instead of waving to your neighbor. Do something generous for them this week. You know, maybe.
Yeah, you love everybody anyway, right? You love everybody anyway. You don't have to like them, but you love everybody. But be generous with the person that you don't really care about, and then maybe there's a paradigm shift coming along.
Yes, exactly. That's the whole thing. There's a shift going on. Shift your reality. Manifest something new.
Well, anyway, Robert, I love you. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you, and One thing my mother always taught me was never overstay my welcome.
Mhm. Oh, all right. Well, anyway, remember everybody, go out and do something nice for somebody. Be generous. Love y'all. Remember, go out and be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love y'all. Peace, everybody. All right. You still there?
How did we do?